I showed you how to choose a different paths uh, instead of the linear programming when some condition is met, like in the flowchart I showed you uh, like we can go on executing the individual statements like this one by one. So one after other we will execute like this. uh, in some case when we got any condition, uh, if it is false we are going this direction, if it is true we are going this direction, right? So this is single decision. Okay. uh, so but you are choosing the path here, that's it. But let's say I want to write a program like that, user should accept that, like it's mandatory that it should be a true. So if it is false, the user will be continuously prompted to change his data. uh, I mean, if the condition is false, then the environment or the user anything should made in such a way that it is correct. So as long as it is false, we will be stuck in a loop and it's continuously executing. So let's say if it is false, instead of choosing a different path, what I will do is I will enter one branch like this and do some execution, and again I am coming at this condition statement checking only. So if it is false, so continuously infinite times, or as long as this condition is true, this loop will executes continuously this execution. So when it is, it will check for false first time. If it is false, it will come this to this execution part, and again it will come this condition. If it is false, again it will loop. So it's, so to frame such kind of logic we use loops. So in these loops also we have different types. The first one is uh, while loop. This is the most simple one. Here after this while you will just write a condition and you will create a block. So this block will get executed continuously as long as this condition is true. When this condition is not satisfying, then it will come outside of this while loop. Okay, so let me show you in this example. So I will remove this switch case. I will remove all other variables. Let's say I will create a variable like this, some count, and I will keep the initial value as 0. Now while this count value is less than 10, if the value is less than 10, I want to say, I will just print that. Here. After that, I will just increase that by one value. So here what you need to observe is, see, initially I kept the count variable as only 0, but when it came to this while section, you see that condition is true, 0 value is less than 10, so it will enter the while loop. Once it enters the while loop, the statements will get executed. You see the second statement, here I am increasing the count value from 0, it will become 1, and it will come outside of the loop. And once it came outside of the loop, again it will check with the condition. The second time also the condition is true, so 1 will print now. Later again repeatedly it will check for condition, 2 will print, 3 will print, so long till the counter value will become 10. When the counter value is 10, the condition is false, so it will come outside of that loop completely. So to check that, start of loop, end of loop. After start of loop, let's keep BR, and for safe side let me keep BR here also, line break. So let me refresh this. So it seems there is here, you see this is the start of loop. Later continuously the number is getting incremented and the condition is true, again it will go on executing until 9. Once the count value is 9, it will execute and the 9 will become 10, and it will go for this condition check. 10 is less than 10 is false, so it will exit the loop. Okay, that is how the expectation. So one more thing is here if you observe, I am checking for this condition before entering the loop itself. Let's say I want to check for the condition after entering the loop, I mean at the end of the loop. Then what I will do is, I will just write do here and paste that condition part here. So it will enter the loop first, and at the end of the loop execution it will check for the condition. So what is the advantage of this one is, it will execute the block at least once, even if it is false. You see. So now let's say the value I kept is 10. So if it is a while loop, it won't execute at all. But as it is a do loop, it will execute once. Okay. Even if it is false, it entered, and at the end it checked the condition and didn't go to the second iteration. You want, you can keep the semicolon here after every line, but as you are creating a new line, it's not mandatory. So like do loop, while loop and do while loop, we have for loop, like we have in C language. Here what happens is the syntax will be like this, for loop, and it has 3 parts unlike the while loop. Of course condition will be there, and before condition there is a increment operator, initialization statement, and the third one will be iteration statement. So to change this do while loop a bit like that, what we can do is, let me change it to while. Okay, so the first part will be the initialization statement. So count equal to 10, I will keep there instead of outside. And I need to declare the variable, the initial, but the value in initialization I am keeping here. Initial value will be 0, and the condition statement is less than 10, and third is the iteration statement. This count plus plus means which is used to alter the condition result. I will keep here. So instead of while wait for, it will give you the same result. I mean the first one. So here what happens is, while entering the for loop, this one will be executed first and this condition will be checked and it will enter. After the end of the iteration, this will be executed and again this condition will check. So this one, the first statement will be executed only once. These two will be executed every time. The first one is condition check, the second one will be done before entering the loop. This one is while exiting the loop. Incrementation. This for loop, while loop and all, here what we are doing is we are checking for a condition. But let's say we have a array or a list where we are having some 10 or 20 set of elements and we want to execute the loop one by one for each and every element. In that case, we can use for each loop. So here what happens is if you see why to create a new array, let's use the document object itself. See, the JavaScript I am executing is executing directly on this browser. So with this document object, I have complete access to this browser where I am executing this JavaScript. So let's fetch the individual elements of it. So what we can do is we can use for loop for that. Let me create a property. Here for array I want to say objects. Navigate and showing both are same, right? So here what happens is I will break the statement here. I will keep a line break here. So in this one, instead of this counter initialization and all, I will create an element. Let's say a property which I am using in navigator. What is this navigator? This is the document object, navigator object. Okay, default object which will be available to us. So in this navigator, this complete web browser, now I am iterating through one by one properties of this navigator. You can visualize this as a simple array or an collection. So a property. So all the elements in the navigator will be accessed in this for loop, but for each iteration one of the property will be assigned to this a property variable. Navigator, yeah. So after this property is printed, I will create a line break. At the end it will be exit of the loop. So let me save this and click refresh. You see, these are all the properties available in this navigator object. So one by one got printed because I am iterating through this for loop. For each loop I mean to say, using this so each time this navigator, in the first iteration it will be navigator object vendor sub, second time it will be product sub, like that. So now let's say uh, I want to break the statement, or I don't want to print if it is permissions. Okay, so I want to exclude some set of elements. So then what I will do is if x or a property not equal to get battery, okay, or let's say if a property equal to get battery, then what I will do is I will come I will break here completely. Whenever I saw this get battery, the remaining statements will get stop executing. Okay, so that one I will keep it break. Once I see the break statement, the remaining iterations will be stopped. You see, this one if you want to print, you can keep here. This get battery is also not printed now because it is stopping here itself, right? If you want to print that, to keep it after this print statement. See, after this get battery, remaining things are stopped. Now let's say uh, now you see get battery is not printing. So now during the iteration when get battery came, it stopped there, and remaining properties also not printed. But let's say I want to skip only get battery, remaining things should get executed. So instead of a break, what I will do is I will keep continue. So here what happens is whenever they saw this continue statement, they stop that particular iteration and continue the remaining iterations. You see, get battery skipped, but remaining things came. Okay, so that is the use of break and continue. You can also use labels and break statements, but labels are not preferred to use. It will create a infinite loops unnecessarily. But for completion part, I will tell you that also. Let's say if I have multiple for loops, in here what happens is I have created a for loop. Inside this for loop, let's say I create one more for loop. Okay, so if it is a single for loop, when you mention break, it will take the immediate for loop whichever is executing. So let's say if I write break here, it will stop this for, not this one. Let's say from this for, if I want to break this outer for, what I need to do is I need to create a labels for this. Inside this for loop, I can set a label for it, like outside loop. You can keep colon to make it as label, inside loop. So when I want to break that particular thing from inside loop, the outside one, what I can do is I can type break outside loop. So this one will stop the outside loop itself from inside for. So that is the use of these labels with the break statements. So in the next set of videos, I will explain you about functions. Thanks for watching.